West Bloomfield School District is fortunate to have developed strong connections with partners throughout our community. West Bloomfield is constantly increasing its efforts to work with local programs to ensure student success in our schools. By building and maintaining these relationships, we ensure that our students are able to connect and grow in order to reach their greatest potential.
Hello, I'm Superintendent Gerald Hill.
And I'm Art Ebert, Deputy Superintendent for Talent Development and Management for the West Bloomfield School District.
Today, we've invited some of our community partners to talk about their connections with the West Bloomfield School District and what kind of support and programs they provide. We're joined today by Scott Loney, President of the West Bloomfield Rotary Club, and Mr. Jeff Lieb, founder of the West Bloomfield Optimist Club. Scott, I've been a member of Rotary for several years in both Chicago and now again in West Bloomfield. Many people are not familiar with what Rotary is and what the focus of Rotary is.
And they should be, because you as a Rotarian know, but most of our viewers certainly don't. We're an international organization with presence around the world, 200 countries, 1.2 million members, over 30,000 clubs, and we're engaged in project activity around the world in ways that are appropriate to each situation. So we have 6 areas of focus. And in places where there are challenges with regard to public health, we address those. In education, we address those. In water delivery, we are actually big on well projects around the world where water and sanitation is a problem. But our focus here really is in education and literacy.
Here in our district, tell us about how you're connecting with West Bloomfield High School.
Well, we're pretty closely involved in the schools. We've had several programs there, including getting the STEAM students engaged in a program with Lawrence Technological University recently. But our biggest ongoing involvement at West Bloomfield High School, and one of the best things we really do as a club, is a program called Strive. And it's a scholarship program. And Strive, its name demonstrates what it is: students taking a renewed interest in the value of education. And these are students who may not have performed optimally in their freshman and sophomore years. I think some of us in this room can relate to that, but who have taken, who have the idea that they can do better in their last couple of years. And we go to them and offer a scholarship, and it's a performance-based scholarship that they earn through grades, their citizenship and attendance over the last 2 years of their career at West Bloomfield High.
Thank you.
And I think that's a great program, and seeing up close the impact it has is very powerful. There's also a Rotary-affiliated club at the high school called Interact. Can you tell us about that?
Indeed, and in fact, we've been there for a number of years. I'm not actually sure when Interact was started, but it's been a very vibrant program for years. And we have 15-ish students in the Interact Club, and they're very involved in community activities here in West Bloomfield. In fact, I've said at some of our recent club members, they're really leading the way for the club as opposed to the other way around. They've been very active in local engagement on literacy programs for younger students. They've done work in the community with veterans. And they actually also had an international project last year delivering a lighting project for villagers in India. So they've been very, very active. And we're looking to extend the Interact program as well.
There are so many ways that you're connecting with our students in schools. I know you're developing a relationship with our English as a Second Language program. Tell us what connection will mean to us, what this will mean to us.
And in fact, this came from a suggestion that Dr. Hill gave to us. The English as a Second Language program is located in an office building down Orchard Lake Road. I wouldn't have even known it was there unless Jerry had told us about it. And so I went over there last year, not quite a year ago, and several of our members have gone over since. And what what we found was people from around the world who are learning English, but who in a broader sense are trying to integrate into the community. And we thought we could sort of help each other. We could help them get into a more active role in the community, meet people, has a real practical aspect for them in terms of possibly seeking jobs, making connections with people outside their own ethnic community. And we're looking for people who are community-oriented, who want to join us, not necessarily as members, but who, when we take on a local community project, we can bring them in as helping hands in the community. We want to extend that. It's a great idea. They've been very receptive to it, but we really want to put that into action in the coming year.
Scott, the Rotary Club is looking for ways to help students from preschool to high school, and you just mentioned an effort at the adult level, the ESL program. How do you manage to create funds for supporting all of these programs, you know, from teaching aids to curriculum, or just helping the various organizations or individuals out?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to go, you know, you have to know what you're working towards before you start the project. Raising funds or putting together a project, you have to have some kind of an end result in mind. So we met with the preschool academy at Chico School. Well, the offices are in Chico School, but it's throughout the district, to find out what their needs are. And they've given us a list of things that we could help them with. Now, our job is to turn around and become a fundraising operation, basically, so that we can go to organizations like the Preschool Academy, ESL, other deserving groups throughout the community to help with their needs. And fundraising clearly is the biggest challenge, but also the biggest job, the biggest opportunity we face in the future. And we're still trying to work out exactly how we do that. We do it sometimes through focus projects where we have like spaghetti dinners, pancake breakfasts, things like that. And those are good, but we're trying to find a way towards something that has a bigger sort of impact in the community. It becomes a community event that people really rally around. And stay tuned, we're still working on that one. But fundraising is our biggest challenge.
So your outreach goes beyond just your club. Tell us about your connection with other clubs and organizations.
Well, some of the programs that I just mentioned, for instance, the pancake breakfast was done as a cooperative venture, in fact, with the Optimist Club and some other clubs around. So the service clubs, there's no reason we can't get together. We, in many cases, have overlapping focuses with regard to our service in the community. So why don't we work together? Things like that. We've also been involved in fundraisers with the Community Coalition. We try to stay in contact with the Chamber of Commerce for their activities, and we promote them, they promote us, sort of mutually advantageous sort of activities. But our job really is to be organically connected throughout the community, and that means with our fellow service clubs. We're not in competition, we want to be in cooperation.
So my wife Cindy and I, as you know, have a foreign exchange student right now from Turkey. And it's been a wonderful experience. So how are you as a club, or we as a club, working on an international scale, connecting our local community to overseas activities or the international scene?
Well, several ways. The exchange program, of course, with Rotary Club is famous. It's one of the first things I ever heard about Rotary was meeting Rotary scholars. So it's not just exchange students. The student you're hosting, of course, is a high school student. There are college-level exchanges around the world. But we also do support for schools in foreign countries. For instance, our club has an ongoing relationship with a school in Africa with an organization called Orphan Medical Network International, OMNI for short. And we have partnered through one of our members who got us involved in this in a very big way with a Rotary Club in Zambia. And that's where the school is located. So every year we have we do some fundraising activity for them that we would also like to expand as well. But it goes directly to building infrastructure for the school, providing educational materials for the school, books and all the things that students need in order to learn, but also to support a medical mission that goes there every year.
Thank you, Scott. One of our other clubs in our community that we're fortunate to have two of in our community is the Optimist Club. We have a West Bloomfield Optimist Club as well as a Kego Harbor Optimist Club. And we're fortunate today to have on our panel Mr. Jeff Lieb, who actually was the founder of both of those clubs. So Jeff, how many years ago did you start these clubs, and how did you decide to do that, and how did it happen?
Well, probably in the spring of 1971. I was cutting my grass one weekend morning, and a neighbor drove by and said, "What are you doing Tuesday?" I said, "When?" He said, "Tuesday morning, 7:30, Botsford Inn, Farmington." I said, "Nothing." He says, "Come for breakfast." So I went, and the Birmingham Optimist Club was trying to build an Optimist Club in Farmington Township. And so they had Joe Weaver from Channel 2, Jack LeGoff from Channel 2. They were both members of the Birmingham Club, and there was a fellow named Bob Johnson who was the new club building chairman from the Birmingham Club. And they put on a very nice presentation, and then after the breakfast they asked me if I would sign up to join. And I said, "No." "Why?" I said, "Because I don't have any nexus with Farmington. I live in West Bloomfield, and my office is in Southfield. As a matter of fact, at that time, I think I was still in the prosecutor's office, so I was working in Pontiac at the time. But I said, if you ever like to build a club in West Bloomfield, let me know." And so in the fall of 1971, it happened, I was on the planning commission at the time. I got a call from Bob Johnson. Would I send out a letter to maybe 40 people and see if we could start a club in West Bloomfield? And so there was a pancake house on Orchard Lake and Maple. And we sent out a notice, and the first week we had like 15 people show up from my list. And then the next week we had 20 people. And the next week we were down to 8, and then 10, and 12. And after about a month and a half, we had 40 members.
Right.
And we were chartered, officially chartered in I think February of 1972.
Great. So what do the weekly meetings look like, and where now are they held?
Well, for about the last 25 years, we've been hosted by the Stage Deli on Orchard Lake Road. They've been wonderful. We have a wonderful breakfast spread, and we have anywhere between 40 and 60 members. We have about 100 members in our club. We have 40 to 60 that show up every week. We have a lot of camaraderie for the first half hour, have our breakfast, and then we usually have a guest speaker on a variety of topics, anything and everything. And this week we had the Supreme Court Justice Richard Bernstein, who talked about how what many people would think of as a major impairment of being born blind, and talk about how he evolved into a lawyer and then a justice of the Supreme Court. Very interesting speaker and very dynamic. Talked about the fact that he didn't consider he had an impairment at all. So,
I believe that the Optimist Club provided one of our pontoon boats to transport school kids to and from Apple Island. Tell us about that.
correct. Early on in our life as an Optimist Club, we were the only service club in the township at that time. We bought the boat that was called the Optimist, and kids, Apple Island's a classroom, and they had to get there one way or another, and I think some garden club bought a pontoon boat, and we bought a pontoon boat, and those were the two pontoon boats that were used to transport the kids to and from the island. I might indicate that in our club, Dr. Gerald Hill is a member, but he wasn't the first person in education that was a member. Early on in our club was Ted Cavan, who was the principal of West Bloomfield High School. He was an active member of the club, past president. Dr. Seymour Gretschko, who was superintendent of West Bloomfield, similarly was a member and very active member in our club until he died. And Gary Faber, also superintendent, was a very active member, past president of our club. So we've had a wonderful relationship with the school districts. Matter of fact, in the Wall Lake School District, we had the superintendent of schools in Wall Lake was also a member of our club.
So what kind of programs does Optimist Club have for students in our schools?
We have, first of all, our international logo, our international slogan is Friend of Youth. So that in and of itself tells you that our focus is on the youth of the community. So we have now and have had in the past many programs involving youth. We have an essay contest. We have an oratorical contest. We have a bike safety program involving little kids with their bikes, and we usually work with some cycle company to tighten up all the nuts that have to be tightened, and so the bikes are safe, and kids get a helmet for free, and so on and so forth. We built a fire exit for a program early on in our years called the West Bloomfield PAD, Program for Alternatives to Drugs. They gave us this old church to use. We couldn't occupy it unless there was a fire escape from the second floor down. So I remember we organized, and in a weekend we built this staircase. And so that was important. It involved lots of kids in school and giving them a place to crash and talk about problems. We had lots of doctors that worked with those kids too. And this was when the epidemic of drugs was a lot more than it is now, thank God. We have a gift-giving program every year that we visit families in need. We get those names from the counselors at schools, including West Bloomfield High School. We have a holiday party every year that focuses on little kids and an experience with Santa Claus, and everybody gets a nice gift. We're founders and very active in Michigan Week, and have been active in Michigan Week ever since that began. We used to have a career day where once a month the kids would come in and they would go with an Optimist member for the day who fit what they thought of what their career might be. So if they wanted to be a lawyer, they went with a lawyer. If they wanted to be a businessman, they went with a businessman, accountants, and so on and so forth. And our members were very open to that and spent a lot of quality time with young kids looking to find out what might interest them then. We were the founders. For 6 years we did this. I was the chairman most of the time. We had the West Bloomfield Miss West Bloomfield Scholarship Pageant, which was a preliminary to the Miss Michigan pageant and the Miss America pageant. And actually, it's a very little known fact, but we actually had 2 Miss West Bloomfields in the Miss America contest one year. The same year we had 2 Miss West Bloomfields. Long story, I won't have time for another segment. We have junior golf, and sponsored that for many years. And again, we have scholarships. Neri Alex was a wonderful engineer and a charter member of our club. And when he died, his family endowed us with some money. And for years, we gave away a Neri Alex scholarship. I think it was a $1,500 scholarship for first place and $1,000 for second place. We did that for many, many, many years. That was taken over by another one, and I'm not sure if we're still doing that now, but that was a wonderful, we gave probably a couple $100,000 away over the years.
And if I may interject, my daughter was the recipient of an Optimist scholarship, so I'm forever grateful to the Optimist
There
Club.
you go. We were very happy to do that, and
Yep.
I did it a couple of times. I was on the judging committee, and to try and judge, we had a child from each one of the 7 high schools that were within the West Bloomfield Township. And to try and select one person from the 7 high schools was really a job, because they all deserved it. Every one of them was. The only need wasn't a factor. The only thing that was a factor was they had to actually live geographically in West Bloomfield Township. So that was a lot of fun, and we obviously participated a lot with that.
So Art, you've been asking questions. I'm going to switch the table on you.
Sure.
You've been a member of the Kego Harbor Club for many years as an Optimist. In fact, you were just recognized with an award from that club. So what's the difference between the two clubs, and what events do you hold?
So I am happy that I've been an optimist for several years. Not 45 yet, but that's something I aspire to do.
Now you know your father.
That's right. That's right. But we're a small but mighty club. We service the students of Orchard Lake, Sylvan Lake, and Kego Harbor. Not many people know that, but that's who we service. And we're proud of the events that we do for kids. So for example, before Halloween each year, we have pumpkin decorating. Several hundred students come with their families. They paint pumpkins. They put bolts and nails and googly eyes all over the pumpkins. And then Bill Bertakis from the community comes in, takes pictures for free. The whole event's free. He gives the picture, the pumpkins to the kids, and it's a blast. And we play spooky music and so forth. Like West Bloomfield, we've given scholarships. We annually have a Joanne Andre scholarship that we give to high school students, and a Ledge Tomlinson scholarship as well. And we're proud to be able to do that. I will tell you, in the fall and the spring, we do a road cleanup on Orchard Lake Road between St. Mary's and Middle Belt. We go up and down the road, and I don't think there's been a time yet that we haven't been stopped by someone on the way because we wear our Optimist shirts, and someone says, you know, I was recognized by the Optimist Club when I was in school, or I got a scholarship from the Optimist Club when I was in school. Thank you. It's really neat. So thank you for your leadership in chartering the two clubs.
So we are going to come right back and take a look at some of the ways that the district partners with organizations, other organizations, to help keep our kids safe. We're back with our West Bloomfield Deputy Police Chief and Chairman of the West Bloomfield Youth Assistance, Kurt Lawson. And joining us also is Executive Director of the West Bloomfield Community Coalition, Lisa Berkey. Kurt, there are a lot of organizations in our community, and sometimes it's confusing to parents, whether they're new to the community or been in the community a while, about what these various organizations do. So what does youth assistance do?
Well, you're exactly right. There's so many different nonprofit groups in West Bloomfield. I mean, even I get confused at times, but at the end of the day, most of them are there for the kids, whether it's Rotary, the Greater West Bloomfield Coalition, the Optimist Club, and obviously West Bloomfield Youth Assistance. We're there for the kids. As far as West Bloomfield Youth Assistance, our bread and butter is our caseworker that's stationed at the high school. And she's responsible for referrals from parents and teachers throughout the entire district to try to help kids. She's specially trained by Oakland County. She does a great job in just helping kids through some difficult times in their life and puts them right back on track where we want them to be.
You mentioned you have a presence at the high school. What is your relationship with West Bloomfield School District?
Well, as you know, we have an absolutely great relationship. Right now what we're trying to do is just make sure all of your new employees know all about youth assistance, and people within the community knows exactly what we're about and what we can provide for their students and for families. So we're really making a push right now to market ourselves and let people know what we're all about.
Excellent.
I think one of the programs you do, you recognize students who are making a positive impact in the community. Tell us about that program and what you feel its value is for the students.
Well, the value is we don't want to concentrate on just the students that are having a difficult time or maybe a little speed bump in their life. We want to recognize those kids that have gone above and beyond what's expected of them. So once a year, we invite students to come to the West Bloomfield High School, the theater, and we bring in a special MC, and we recognize them for their outstanding work. And we bring in principals and teachers and people throughout the community to recognize them for their outstanding work.
What are some of the biggest challenges that some students experience in school today?
For me, I think, and I think Lisa would probably agree with this, is that peer pressure and bullying is probably the top 1 and 2. And that's where our caseworker comes in, and she can help them with coping mechanisms and ways to deal with that. And then we also bring in outside speakers to the school district to talk about why it's so important not to bully each other and what the negative consequences of that is.
So Youth Assistance mission is to strengthen youth and families and to reduce the incidence of delinquency in students. What kind of data do you have that indicates that this program is making a positive impact for the kids in the community?
Well, we certainly have local data that supports our program and the investment that the school districts made and the local officials have made. But there's also national studies that show 93% of the students that go through youth assistance don't go back into the criminal justice system while they're up to age 17. So as you can tell, with 93%, that's a pretty high success rate.
We've been hearing about an exciting new program called Parenting on the Go. Talk to us about that.
Well, this is a program that some of my team came up with, and we're so excited about it. Belfour Restoration and Motown Digital got behind us on this. And what we wanted to do is bring in local experts to talk about suggestions for parents on parenting, basically. You know, give them information in a 4-minute block that can really help them do a better job as a parent. Topics include suicide prevention, drug awareness, and things as simple as overscheduling. How do you know when your student or your child is just too busy?
So what do you see on the future for youth assistance, and who supports the youth assistance efforts?
Well, I think it's really important that we keep this great team that we already have at Youth Assistance. We've really put together a team that is working well together. A lot of times you see in nonprofit groups, there's only 1 or 2 people that are doing all the work. And what's nice about West Bloomfield Youth Assistance is everyone's really come together and they've branched out and they've made certain aspects of youth assistance their own. And it's just become stronger and stronger. And I think as we move forward, we want to just keep marketing ourselves and let people know what kind of asset we are for the community.
So how do families go about obtaining services if they are coping with serious issues?
Well, they certainly can visit our website or our Facebook page, or they can just contact us at Youth Assistance. And any parent, teacher, anyone in the community can refer a student that they feel might need our assistance.
And I know from firsthand experience, Dr. Ebert and I have been working with Stacy Passini at the high school in terms of attendance referrals, truancy, and we appreciate that support that we get day in and day out from her in those efforts.
Well, we appreciate your support. Anything that we can do for you, we certainly will.
Great, great. So another very important organization in our community that serves our community to help keep our kids safe is the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition. And Lisa Berkey is here today to talk with us about what exactly the mission is of the Greater West Bloomfield Community Coalition. So Lisa,
yes,
welcome.
Thank you. Our mission is to collaborate with community partners to help ensure that our youth grow to their greatest potential. We know they have the potential and we just need to provide a little extra help, so we provide anything we can to the schools or to the parents to help them give those kids a shot.
So Lisa, what are some of the programs that you bring into the schools?
At the elementary school level, we bring in Kids in Charge. We also bring in some empowerment programs and anti-bully programs. At the middle school level, we continue the anti-bully programs, along with internet safety and a little bit about mental health and removing the stigma. In the high school, we continue to go on with mental health. We do some knowing what's going on with their electronic footprint, helping them clean that up, making sure what's out there is safe and that it doesn't affect their future. But we provide a variety to each level of the schools.
So Lisa, tell us a little bit more about Kids in Charge. My wife, Cindy, has been involved in it for years and really enjoys it, but I don't think many people really know what it does, and then what are some of the impacts that you see from it?
Well, Kids in Charge is our star. It's been around for over 25 years. It is completely volunteer run. It educates approximately 1,900 first through fifth graders on drug and alcohol prevention education. The volunteers come in for 5 consecutive weeks, and of course the information and how they teach it is different at each level, but they provide education for them on tobacco, alcohol, not accepting prescription drugs from other people, knowing about marijuana. The education increases over the years.
How do you determine which programs to bring into the schools?
A couple different ways. First of all, we meet with the principals in June. We talk to them about their year. What happened last year? What challenges are there for you? How can we help you? And also we do a survey every other year to 8th, 10th, and 12th graders. We survey them on drug and alcohol usage, 30-day usage, what they think about the drugs, what they think their friends think about drugs. We ask them what they think their parents think. And we take that information, we present it to Dr. Hill first, and then we decide where we should concentrate our programs on, along with what the principals say also.
And from that, you get a wealth of information, and then you also find out what parents may be interested in. What are some examples of some parent programs that you have offered to the community?
We have done programs on the opioid crisis. We have done some programs on marijuana, with it going to be on the ballot. Eventually, we feel it's very important to educate people on the dangers of marijuana. We are concentrating this year on mindfulness and coping skills, along with, like Kurt said, teaching people how to balance their life and not overschedule.
And who do you partner with in the community?
Well, the police, youth assistants, the schools, along with the township, the library, Parks and Rec, Henry Ford, La Fontaine. And that's our goal, is to build community partnerships with lots of different people.
So of course, much of our protection of our kids, children, begins in the home. What are some things that parents can do to ensure the safety of their children?
Well, like I'd like to compare it to is we prepare our home when our kids are starting to crawl and walk. We need to prepare our home when they become teenagers. We need to lock up our alcohol. We need to lock up our prescription drugs. We need to get rid of unused and expired medication from our homes. The West Bloomfield Police Department takes it every day. They will accept it for us and properly destroy it for us. We also believe that a conversation between parents, it's very, very important. It should be an open communication between you and your kids on all sorts of topics: drugs, alcohol, bullying. You should also be knowing who their friends are, knowing what they're doing on the computer. So parents need to just get a little more involved with their student or their son or daughter.
Sure, sure.
Yes.
We'd like to thank you both for enlightening us today on the important ways to ensure the safety of our youth and the community. When we come back, we're going to be visited by two more organizations that are vital to our community. Our Children's Fund and Blessings in a Backpack will present information for us on their important programs. Welcome back. We're here with Randy Sakwa from our Children's Fund and Kathy Chico, former principal and chairperson for Blessings in a Backpack. Many people aren't familiar with some of the serious challenges that we face right here in our community. And it may come as a surprise to them, Randy, that we have a lot of challenges and our youth are struggling with day in and day out. Would you mind telling us what the purpose of our Children's Fund is and how we may be able to address some of the challenges that the youth are facing?
Well, thank you for asking, Jerry. We have children and families in our school district that are facing emergency challenges, whether there's a loss of a job, an illness in the family, a death of a parent, and therefore they can't pay some of their medical bills, things like clothing and school supplies, academic enrichment programs, so children can come to our schools and be successful. And so Children's Fund is a resource, and it's a nonprofit organization run by a group of dedicated volunteers, and it's a resource to fill that gap and to help with resources so students can come to school every day prepared to learn emotionally as well as academically.
So Randy, when and how did our Children's Fund begin?
In 1990, one of our past board members, Dr. Avery Murab, saw the need for an emergency need fund. He saw things that students and their families were struggling with financially, and thought that we could, fix that by having a temporary resource for students and their families to come to in times of financial need, whereas other resources were exhausted by the school social worker.
Thank you.
So our Children's Fund is a charitable organization, a 501c3 organization. Do you incur any administrative expenses as a part of that organization?
Well, as I said before, the group of volunteers that works there takes care of a lot of the administrative things in the fundraising. And we are also supported by the West Bloomfield School District and their Special Services Department. So 100%, thanks to the West Bloomfield School District and a generous donation and the services of the Special Services Department, 100% of all funds raised goes directly to helping children in need.
What kind of requests do you get?
Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to pull up a little bit of a list because we really do so much, and it is so varied. And it also depends on, what's happening in the financial climate. When we were going through a recession, there were a lot more needs. Depends on the time of year. Now we're getting into the cold weather. There's a lot more needs for, cold weather clothing. But the type of needs that Children's Fund, and it is not limited to, are medical needs for eyeglasses, prescriptions, therapies, academic enrichment things such as school supplies and backpacks, short-term tutoring, lunch and learn, summer school, educational activities, personal and family care, clothing, food crises. And our Children's Fund is here to provide the financial support for these needs, whereas otherwise they would not be available.
So if a family in our district needed assistance, what is the process for requesting help from our Children's Fund?
Well, children are best served by those that know them most, and that would be their teachers. So we encourage all teachers, when they see a child that might be in some sort of financial distress, to let the school social worker, the counselor, or their building principal know. When that happens, the school social worker, building principal, or counselor makes a financial request to the Special Services Department, and everything is done confidentially. And so there's a lot of dignity in the process. People don't have to worry that others know. Students don't have to worry there's a mark on their back when they come to school. And it goes through that department, it comes to the committee, and it's looked over. There's some financial criteria and guidelines that a family has to have. And then we do try to, in the best of the ability that we have with our the donations that we have and the monies available, to assist with that request.
So Randy, before we go to our next guest, I know that you've been affiliated with our Children's Fund for many years and on the school board. What would you say is the most rewarding aspect of your involvement in our Children's Fund?
The most rewarding aspect is knowing that we are really caring for our students emotionally, physically, academically. There's an urgency today with our students, and they come to school with so many different needs and from so many different backgrounds, and even families that never experienced financial hardships before all of a sudden can be in a financially distressed situation. And it's really a privilege to be in a district that cares about their students, not just academically, but the whole child, before and after school, over the summer. And it's Laker pride to have a partnership that our Children's Fund has with our school district and the greater community. And it's so important. Our fundraising that we do is through the school groups, the parent groups, school and classroom functions, and even our own kids raise money and know what Children's Fund is about. So it's so important that we raise kids to be in a community that helps each other in times of need. And I think that's what I'm so proud of, is that we have a school district that really cares, and you don't see this type of organization in other school districts. I believe we might be one of the only ones. And I know that each of our buildings, they have their own separate organizations that also help their families. But we do this, whole district, and we're there to assist in any way that we can.
So Randy, what are some of those fundraisers, and also, do you accept donations?
Absolutely, absolutely. With our community partners and general donations, we're so much in need like any other organization that is trying to help. And with school fundraisers, classroom things, different school groups, we also have tribute cards that are really a great way to acknowledge a favorite teacher or administrator, students when they're graduating, and those can be purchased at any school office. We sell packages of 5 for $25, but also accept donations all year round, and donations can be made by check, and they are tax deductible, and those can be made to our Children's Fund in care of the West Bloomfield School District, Special Services Department, and that's 5810 Commerce Road, West Bloomfield, Michigan, 48324. And we thank all of our generous contributors that allow us and ensures us that Children's Fund can keep on giving and helping and assisting those in need all the time.
Thanks, Randy. Kathy, you are a former principal in our school district, in the West Bloomfield School District, and a principal for many years. Actually, I think we have a school by the last name, by your last name, Chico Elementary School. I know that through those years you've seen many difficult situations with families, and now you're in an organization called Blessings in a Backpack. Is this a local organization, a national organization? And give us some insight into what the organization is and what piqued your interest in becoming a member of Blessings in a Backpack.
Sure. Well, when I retired 6 years ago, I was really looking for something that I could get involved in that would give back to this community that gave me so much for so many years, and I found out about Blessings in a Backpack. It's a program that sends 6 non-perishable meals home with students on the weekends, students who might not have enough food to eat. It was started in 2005 in Louisville, Kentucky by a classroom teacher. She saw children coming to school on Mondays, and some of them were out of sorts and seemed sleepy, fatigued, crabby. And when she looked at who those children were, she realized that these were children who were on the free and reduced lunch program. So they came to school Monday through Friday, they got breakfast, they got lunch, and oftentimes they went home to a house that didn't have enough food. So with a gentleman that she had met that was philanthropic, and with Meyer, they teamed together and they started the first Blessings in a Backpack program. It's now in over 40 states, over 250 schools, and it's really done totally by volunteers, a school at a time, a district at a time, a state at a time, until we're at where we are now across the nation.
So, Kathy, many of our viewers may ask, do we need this in West Bloomfield? Are there really hungry kids in our community?
And I want to tell you how many times I've been asked that very same question. And I say to them, yes, there are, and they might be living right next door to you and you have no clue. Yes, we have children in our community who live in our community who do not have enough food to eat. Yes.
So how does the program work?
Well, we obviously have to raise funds. It costs about $100 a child to feed them for the 40 weeks of the school year, weekends of the school year, I'm sorry. So once the children are identified, we order the food. The volunteers come in on Wednesdays. In fact, we have a room, our own little room at Ebert Middle School. We pack the bags. With the help of the school district, we have our mail truck takes the bins of food to the classrooms, to the buildings, and the classrooms get the bins of food, which the teachers pass out on Fridays discreetly to go home with the boys and girls. And we begin again the following week.
So how can the community help this effort to feed hungry kids?
Well, obviously, we need funds. So we do a number of fundraisers. We raise about 25% of our funds through grants. And the rest we have to raise ourselves. So we have several fundraisers. We've done a program called Circus Among Us, which has been great fun for the youngsters, where they come in and do 10 circus acts and so on, and we raise funds that way with sponsorships. This year we're actually going to be doing a trivia night, and we hope that that will be quite successful. Not only will we raise money for our program, but hopefully we'll build a sense of community with the different schools and parents and organizations vying for who's going to be the top trivia person. So we're always looking for fundraisers.
Well, we'd like to thank you both for being with us today, and thank you for all that you do so unselfishly. We're so fortunate in our community to have giving organizations as altruistic selflessness that happens in those organizations, the noble community members that step forward and help our less fortunate youth and families. I'm reminded of a quote that says, "Let's raise children who won't have to recover from their childhoods." And fortunately, we have many organizations who generously, people who generously contribute their time and work tirelessly so that students will not have that experience and so that they will truly enjoy their childhood. And we thank you for that.
And this is just another example of the West Bloomfield School District providing multiple opportunities to ensure that all students grow to reach their greatest potential.
Thank you for joining us today, where we have taken a closer look at West Bloomfield School District community partners.